We get sent all sorts of interesting things to look into. But the material you shared this time,
Wow.
it's genuinely captivating and honestly a little spooky.
Right.
We're talking about sleep paralysis, that weird state where you feel awake but you just can't move.
Mm-hmm.
In Vietnamese, one of our sources calls it bong day, which apparently means something like being weighed down by a ghost.
Yeah, that's pretty evocative.
So we've got this Vietnamese Wikipedia page and also a really interesting transcribed text someone sent talking about their experiences.
Two really different angles on it.
Exactly. So the mission for this deep dive is to really try and get under the skin of this thing, go beyond just defining it.
Explore the why, the what it feels like.
Yeah, and how different cultures see it, because there's a lot there.
Absolutely. And what strikes me right away looking at both is this contrast.
How so?
Well, you got the science side, suggesting it's maybe a neurological hiccup, a RAM glitch, as one source puts it.
Okay, like the brain messing up the sleep stages a bit?
Kind of, but then you have all these really vivid personal stories and these legends from all over the world that hint at, well, something more complex, maybe?
Something else.
Possibly. So the big question we're wrestling with is it just a brain misfire during sleep? Or are there other things going on? Psychological factors, cultural ones?
Okay, so let's start there. What actually is sleep paralysis based on what we have?
Mm-hmm.
Both sources seem pretty aligned on the basics, don't they?
They really do. At its core, it's this very strange in-between state. You're sort of caught between being awake and being asleep.
Your mind's online, but the body isn't.
Exactly. Your mind is conscious. You know what's going on around you, but your body, it's still in that paralysis mode that happens naturally during REM sleep.
The dream sleep stage.
Right, REM, rapid eye movement. And the Vietnamese Wikipedia page lays out the key symptoms very clearly. You can't move your arms, legs, head, anything.
Can't speak either, it mentions.
Can't speak. But you're totally aware. That feeling of being awake but completely frozen is central to it all.
That sounds terrifying, just being trapped inside your own head like that.
It really does.
You want to move, your brain's sending the signals, but nothing happens. The Vietnamese source really hits on that feeling of being stuck, helpless.
And the other text, the transcribed one, definitely hammers home the intense fear, the dread that often comes with it. It's not just being unable to move, it's the terror.
Yeah, the psychological side is huge.
And it's not just about what you can't do. Both sources talk about these really bizarre, often scary sensory things that can happen to you.
Okay, like what?
Well, the Vietnamese Wikipedia brings up that feeling of a heavy weight on the chest. That's a classic one you hear a lot.
Right, the bong day idea, the ghost weighing you down.
Exactly. And then there are the hallucinations, which can apparently be incredibly vivid.
Yeah, the transcribed text talks about visual ones like dark figures, shadow people. That must be absolutely petrifying.
You'd think so. And the Vietnamese source adds more layers hearing things, too, like footsteps, voices, weird noises, and tactile stuff as well. Feeling like you're being pushed down or touched or even, as the other text describes, choked or pressed. What's really striking is how consistent these descriptions are. Across different people, different cultures, it suggests there's some kind of shared pattern here, not just random nightmares.
It's almost like a common script for fear that plays out in this state. The Vietnamese source also mentioned something interesting, that sometimes it can feel like a really vivid dream.
Yeah, that the brain almost tries to make sense of it by weaving the paralysis and maybe sounds from the room into a dream narrative.
So it might incorporate your bedroom or someone who was there before you fell asleep.
Exactly. It's like the brain is scrambling for an explanation, trying to build a story, even a weird one, around this bizarre situation.
Trying to make it logical somehow.
Right. And the Vietnamese source also notes the after effects, feeling wiped out afterwards, maybe a headache, sweating.
So it has real physical consequences too. It's not just in your head.
Definitely not. It clearly impacts the body.
Okay, so that paints a clearer picture of the what. Let's get into the why. What do the sources say about causes or triggers?
Well, the Vietnamese Wikipedia, pulling from Harvard Medical School info, lists quite a few potential factors.
Like what kind of things?
Things like just not getting enough sleep, for one, or having a really irregular sleep schedule like people doing shift work often do.
Okay, that makes sense. Disrupting the natural rhythm.
Yeah. And even sleeping on your back seems to be linked to it more often.
Oh,
apparently. Also, connections to other sleep issues like narcolepsy and certain mental health conditions too, bipolar disorder, PTSD, anxiety.
So stress and mental state play a role.
Seems like it. Plus, certain medications, like some for ADHD, substance use chemicals, alcohol, and big life stressors or intense emotions, they're all mentioned as potential triggers.
Wow, that's a lot. It really shows how sleep is tied into everything, physical health, mental health.
It's all connected. And the Vietnamese source even mentions a possible genetic link. Some people might just be more prone to it.
Interesting. More research needed there, I guess.
For sure. And then, of course, the transcribed text circles back to that scientific link with REM sleep, REM atonia.
Right, the muscle paralysis during REM.
Exactly. That text explains it clearly. Our bodies naturally paralyze muscles during REM. It's called atonia. Probably stops us from, jumping out of bed while dreaming we're flying.
A safety feature.
Pretty much. So the main scientific idea behind sleep paralysis is that it's a kind of glitch in the timing, a mismatch.
How so?
Your brain basically wakes up, becomes conscious, but the body hasn't switched off the REM atonia yet. Your muscles are still paralyzed.
Ah, so the mind's awake, body's asleep. Hence the REM glitch idea. A timing error in the sleep-wake transition.
That's the prevailing theory, yeah. A disruption in the usual smooth handover.
Okay, then we get to the really fascinating and maybe unsettling part. The cultural stuff, the unexplained bits that the transcribed text really focuses on.
Right, because the science gives us one explanation, but for centuries, cultures everywhere have come up with very different ways to understand this.
Starting with the name itself, Buong Dae in Vietnamese, weighed down by a ghost. That immediately points somewhere else entirely, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, straight into the supernatural. And the transcribed text really runs with that, talking about beliefs in evil spirits or forces. It specifically mentions the modern concept of shadow people.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a great example of how cultural beliefs can frame an experience that science explains differently.
And it's not just Vietnam, is it? The transcribed text points out these amazing similarities across the globe.
It really does. You see it in Japan with kanashibari, often a spirit pressing on the chest.
Similar to the weight feeling.
Exactly. Then Nigeria has Ogun Oru, seen as an evil force attacking you in your sleep. And even in the West, you have stories of the Hat Man, this recurring shadow figure with a hat.
Wow. Different places, different times with similar descriptions.
It's genuinely remarkable. And as the text says, it raises some, chilling questions.
Like how? How do totally separate cultures end up describing such similar things?
That's the puzzle, isn't it? It makes you wonder if there's something universal going on, something about consciousness or perception.
And the text goes even further, right, into these real encounters and unexplained patterns.
Yeah, it mentions just the sheer number of reports. Thousands of people describing similar things, people who've never met or shared stories.
And the fact that descriptions of shadow figures existed before the term shadow people became widely known online or anything.
That's a significant point. It argues against it just being, suggestion or mass hysteria.
It suggests something more intrinsic to the experience itself.
Potentially. And then you get the really specific, sometimes physical claims mentioned in that text.
Like what?
Reports of actual scratches or bruises after an episode, pets apparently reacting to something unseen in the room, even weird electrical stuff happening, like lights flickering.
Okay, that's getting into properly strange territory.
It is. Now, science might offer explanations. Maybe tiny muscle spasms cause marks. Maybe pets just sense their owner's extreme fear.
Right? The brain's fear center, the amygdala, going into overdrive, maybe causing hallucinations to fill the gaps.
That's the kind of scientific explanation offered: electrical misfires, hyperactive amygdala, hypnagogic hallucinations. But the sheer consistency and the weird details people report, it keeps the debate alive.
Really sets up this tension, doesn't it? You have the logical, brain-based science explanation on one side.
Neurology, sleep cycles.
And on the other, this persistent, worldwide pattern of experiences and beliefs that seem to hint at something more. Something maybe beyond what we currently understand biologically.
It definitely pushes at the edges of our understanding.
So, okay, this can obviously be a really frightening thing to experience.
Yeah.
What did the sources say about coping or preventing it? The Vietnamese Wikipedia had some advice, right?
Yes, it did. Since there's no magic cure, the focus is really on management and prevention. And the big thing seems to be lifestyle. Just general healthy living, eating well, getting regular exercise, managing stress.
And crucially, sorting out your sleep schedule, making it regular.
Absolutely. Tackling those root causes like insufficient sleep or irregular patterns seems key. That lines up perfectly with the known triggers.
So getting the basics right.
Exactly. And the Vietnamese source also talks about optimizing your sleep setup.
Like your bedroom.
Yeah. Comfortable sleeping position, making sure your muscles are relaxed, head not twisted, wearing loose clothes, keeping the room well ventilated, basically creating the best possible environment for good sleep.
All sounds like solid sleep hygiene advice generally.
It is, but then there's that folk remedy it mentions.
Ah, yes, the knife near the bed.
Or machete. The Wikipedia page is quite sensible about it, acknowledging it's likely psychological.
A comfort thing. A feeling of protection.
Probably. That sense of security might help relax you, maybe reduce the chances of an episode. But it does give a warning, tell people if you do it, use something blunt and small for safety.
Good advice. It shows how powerful belief can be, though. The mind-body connection.
It really does. And the source makes another good point. Just learning about sleep paralysis can help.
How so?
Understanding what it is, what might cause it, can make it feel less terrifying if it happens, less unknown. That can reduce anxiety overall, which might itself help reduce triggers, knowledge is power kind of thing.
Yeah, demystifying it a bit.
Exactly.
So where does this leave us? We've kind of come full circle to that first question, brain glitch, or something more. That veil between worlds idea the transcribed text mentioned.
Well, what's clear from looking at both sources is that sleep paralysis is complex. It's got layers.
Definitely.
You have the science, the neurology, the physiology, solid explanations there. But running right alongside that, you have all this cultural history, these global beliefs, these deeply personal, often very strange experiences that don't always fit neatly into the scientific box.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Could there be something in those common threats, the ones that pop up across cultures, the bits that science maybe doesn't fully explain yet?
Could it tell us something about consciousness itself? Or the limits of what we currently know about reality?
It's definitely one of those topics that sticks with you, makes you wonder about your own experiences, or just the nature of the mind. Lots to chew on there.